to map number 2. And let me just update there. And of course, if any of you guys are unfamiliar with the base TV overlay, the score and the best of is always displayed down here by the mini map, so you can always check that out. But game number 2, spawning here on the bottom left side of Lilac Crest. He's up 1-0, playing for Euronics Gaming. It's FireCake. And I guess raise your big hits.
Oh my goodness. In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Serral.
All right, so Serral, I don't think played a bad game. What was funny is, like, he lost, and it did not look at any point like he was going to turn that around. He made a lot of really cool moves that we've seen work on other situations in other games. And the fact that that snowballed as quick as it did is why perhaps it didn't work. But the Queens, for example, we've discussed multiple times on the cast before about how sometimes they can work versus Mutalisks. And sadly, we see other players so often mishandle them, it never looks like that's the case. But that game, with how long he held on, with how much he was trading out Muta for Muta, even though he wasn't making more behind it, as much as FireCake was, like, that showed the strength of those Queens.
Yes, that is certainly true. The Queens were pretty powerful. But on the flip side, to show the power of Mutas, FireCake was at about 120, 130 supply, I believe, when he started making 20 Mutas. And then by the end of it, he had flipped it entirely so that Serral was at about 130, 120 supply at the time of his death. So Mutas, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me because it really was the regeneration buff that made them so ridiculous, but it's the only unit that wasn't really tweaked from Legacy of the Void to from Heart of the Storm to Legacy of the Void. Like Ultras, Lings, with new Ravagers, new Lurkers, like every other unit pretty much got a buff, but Muta stayed exactly the same and somehow became way better in the matchup.
Yeah, well, Spore Crawlers got that nerf, man. Just that one unit went from being, or the one structure, I suppose, on a unit, went from taking the Muta out of the equation almost entirely to having it too powerful. So we've seen a lot of pro Zerg suggest some things, like maybe buffing Hydras versus Bio or something like that, but that would actually still affect other matchups. So there's not really as clean as an answer.
Oh, I guess, yeah, Bio versus... If there's a way to segment it so it had a Queen attack, like the Queen attack, it was like versus air only, maybe? I could see that working, but yeah. Versus Bio in general, I mean, like, Hydras do bonus damage to Marines, and Hydras are pretty good against Marines and Marauders.
Yeah, that's not their intention. The Spore Crawler was almost... It was too clever, and it was too good, but it did only affect the one matchup. So that was like a godsend for them, but didn't end up working.
I love that you phrase like it's too clever. Like, this is too good of an idea. It actually worked. So let's change it back and find another solution.
It worked too well, man. And maybe they need to buff it just ever so slightly so it's in between. But I don't know. There's not really an answer other than just don't let him get to mutas. Yeah. But we do have a Ling all-in, kind of. I mean, it's always so hard to say an all-in, right? Because they just throw him behind it. But FireCake responding with a lot of Lings of his own.
I feel like the definition of the all-in really depends on what the follow-up is. Like, you can dedicate to a lot of Lings early on, but this is not an all-in unless he stops droning entirely. Now, he doesn't get the Baneling traits that he wanted to. That actually went really poorly for Serral. Ends up eating another Baneling as he loses half his Lings, and now he has to make more Lings behind this because of how many he lost on the front line. This is going to be a counterattack, and he knows it, so rushing back home. But without any Lings at home to start making the Banelings, he's going to have a very hard defense.
Yeah. FireCake isn't really dedicating to it either. He just got a lot because he had to respawn, and that's just the ebb and flow of ZvZ. But he gets a lair as opposed to like more and more drones. He's still droning. He actually invests into the lair. He's going to keep Serral on the back foot here. He might be able to scout the third. He will be able to scout it. He's a hatchery overload over the hatchery. So he'll know that Serral probably is not going to be killing him soon. But if his plan is to go up to a Spire, then he still has to worry about potential Roach push. The other crest on a very big map. And Serral's like getting a Roach warren, so...
I mean, for FireCake, it would make sense to try a Spire, but he doesn't have the gas count to really go for it, despite his layer timing, so I don't think that's the direction we're going with it. A lot of focus here on the middle of the map. Nice hit there at the end for Serral.
There's a Roach one for Serral. FireCake is banking a ton of minerals.
There's no way.
Has the gas. Yeah, he's gonna go.
There's no way. If he goes Spire, that's crazy
a drone
to me.
Or yeah. I mean, it's very oddly timed, and I think the banelings definitely played into the little bit of a mistiming because it was like 50 gas basically.
Oh, and he sees
That was
this.
the difference. Yeah, allowing the lings to see this is not ideal, but it happens. And Serral, well, he saw it, basically as it came down, so he knows what time he has to do something. Unfortunately, there's just not. If he does an attack, it would be without speed, without +1, just as many roaches he get right now, and he wasn't banging up for it, so he kind of just has to deal with the fact that FireCake's going to get mutas.
I do wonder what his response will be. He's actually in his position in the game where if he wants to bank the gas and the minerals from these 3 bases, he could actually end up with the same amount of mutas. Not initially, but he'll end up with the same amount of mutas if it's muta versus muta. He may instead choose to go for a Hydralisk Den and an Infestation Pit, that we've been seeing more and more people try to do. But it's going to be, yeah, range weapon upgrades. Okay. Shout out to Bunny Lois. Bunny Lois? I'm sorry. What is that? Bunny Lois? Yes. New sub hype.
Thank you. Hopefully he doesn't believe that Bunny is going to lose.
Right, so I thought that was Bunny loses at first. I was like, spoiler. No way. Nah.
Like, who do you think someone would do that and like just hope he didn't ban them?
I don't know. That'd be a pretty. That'd be a mean thing to do. But like, a specific spoiler comes out like Bunny loses 3-2 is just sub to the channel.
Yeah, right. It's really hard to spoil though. We're not like both of us are not on delay, but I guess
Yeah, one of the rare
it's that guy
times.
who really wants to dick over the people that are alt tabbing and like right before they alt tabbed. Damn it!
All right, so it is the Hydralisk Den on the way. Again, we knew this with the ranged weapon upgrades coming out, but I do like that he's still invested in more queens and a couple of spore crawlers, because while the amount of queens and everything that was happening last time were not great enough to deal with what was 30 Mutalisks, you can certainly deal with like 10 to 18. In fact, it's not even that much. So queens and a little bit of spore coverage keep them safe. The hardest part about getting Mutalisks out, however, sorry, not Mutalisks, excuse me, Hydralisks out, is actually getting them clumped together. Mutalisks can pick them off pretty easily when there's only 3 or 4 of them at a time. You pick them off as they start rallying towards those front lines. Big drone, big drone count coming out of FireCake here in a moment, so he's about to skyrocket up to 70 by the looks of it.
Ooh. It's quite a big number. Yeah, Mutalisks going to start their harassment here. It looks like FireCake's going to be going for well, the second option to follow up Mutalisk. So you can follow up Mutalisk with more Mutalisk. I guess that's actually a third option. You can follow up Mutalisk with a Roach transfer back into Roaches. And then, of course, there's the Baneling Speed and Lings, which I actually feel is more obnoxious, just personal bias here. You're so contained as the Roach, Hydra, Infestor player, Serral, right now. You're not getting a lot of scouting. So there's like, you're not going to be able to scout if they're going up to Lurkers, are they going up to a Hive, are they going for more Mutas, unless you see more Mutas. And you think you're fine and dandy, and then suddenly, like, Banelings roll in, and you're not pre-split because you didn't expect Banelings. God, I hate it.
Well, I do like this Nidus Worm. We'll see if this gets him across the map safe and sound, but there's no vision to do that with just yet, so it can be a little bit awkward. But I was lording a moment ago. Bluescron in chat says he doesn't shout this out for the games played because there were amazing games played, but he says for those that missed the Ting tournament, you should check it out. It's awesome because of the ideas about the vampires and the mirrors. God damn it!
Oh Jesus!
Not one of my prouder moments when it comes to on-stream discussions. Good times though, good times. Glad to hear you enjoyed it, Bluescrons. Now, as I don't know how and what is he going to do with the Nidus Worm, because the idea is that this will safely allow you to get everything across the map. The Banelings will be a surprise factor, the Hydras will be a surprise factor, boom, dead. But you still need to get something across the map for vision. Looks like he's going to do that with the Overseer.
I find it very funny that Serral's the one that goes for almost 20 Banelings, but FireCake's the one that went for triple hooks.
I'm actually wondering how he plans to use these Banelings, because there's just like... There's not going to be Hydras waiting for him on the other end of this, right? And you're not going to be using it against...
Maybe just numbers will roll over the Lurkers that he anticipates FireCake having, but FireCake took his time to get to a Lurker Den, so that's not even going to be the case.
Well, Overseers kind of almost put like a fake Nidus Worm over here to draw FireCake out of position, I feel.
I guess
no, that's going to be a real one. Oh, they're trying to go back in. That's awkward. They can't do it.
If Serral has his own Banelings, then hoping to take out FireCakes before they get to his Hydras. It's just that Serral got so many Banelings. And this isn't working. This Nidus Worm thing is not working.
Well, it did draw the army out of position in a lot of different ways, and I think that was the intention here initially. The problem is, though, if he actually takes everything across the map, it looks like he is planning to fully unload out of this with Nidus Worm. That means he doesn't have any home defense, and those Lings and Banley sitting in the middle of the map, FireCake might just go for the counter. Nidus Worm, once again, denied, shut down, Overlords and Overseers both picked off, and now Serral has nothing to fight with. And if he leaves everything in this Nidus Worm, oh, that could be bad.
Line of Banelings.
It's like Zagara from Heroes, right? You just like use that ability to shield the Banelings forward.
Something we don't see very often. Heroes actually representing StarCraft 2 well. Oh.
Okay, well, the Banelings are going to find a lot of Hydras clumped up, and this is devastating. There's still more than enough Hydras to take on the Queens, take on the Mutas, but I don't know about with the Lings underneath that. GG.